Hello everyone in cyber world, welcome back to another video. I'm Richard and this is our channel we call Poor Man's DIY. As you can see, Jennifer is not available for this particular video, and it's okay. It's more kind of an IT thing that I deal with for our channel more often than Jennifer does, and so it's something that it's probably best that I work on anyways. Today I'm going to be talking to you about potential scams. The reason I'm doing this is because we got very close to being scammed, and so I wanted to explain to you how this happened, and this is primarily aimed towards YouTubers. However, the concept can apply to anybody. So let's go ahead and get into this whole subject. Now, we've been working on our channel for many years now, and little by little it has grown, and we've been blessed during that time. Companies have reached out to us and asked us to review their products. This is accomplished by them sending an item to us that we would review and give our honest opinion about, and in return we get to keep the product. We've been so lucky at this, and we've gone through about a dozen or so companies in the beginning, and we never had any problems. Companies contacted us, we had no reason to question it. We agreed to the terms, they sent us the product, and we did the review and posted it. It was only until recently when things changed. So earlier this year we were contacted by someone stating that they were from a very well-known video editing software company. It's a very large company, and it's they may not be number one, but anyhow, they reached out to us and said that they have found our channel and they were very pleased with it, and they wanted to collaborate with us, and they wanted us to try their newest software and then provide a review. And in return, not only do we get to keep the software, but they were willing to pay us for advertising on their behalf. We were actually kind of blown away by this and very flattered that they would even reach out to us. The email that we received was extremely well written, so much so that it sounded legalese. Like there were definitely some lawyers involved in writing this type of a contract up, and I'm assuming they did that with a bunch of other content creators. So everything sounded perfectly legal. Some of the offer might have seemed a little bit unrealistic to some people and think that, oh, hey, it's too good to be true, and I should have been skeptical from the very beginning. But in reality, the amounts that they were offering was actually quite equivalent to some of the products that we have received in the past that were quite valuable items. And so it did not seem unrealistic. It was a little bit more, but again, we had never had any problems with anybody, so we had no reason to question this as being a scam or fraud. So we had no reason to doubt this particular offer, and we started communicating back and forth by email. The company was very quick to respond, and their responses were very, very professional, as if they have dealt with this on a regular basis. But then something happened that I started to question that it wasn't quite right, and the more I thought about it, there were probably some other red flags that I should have caught from the very beginning, but I admit I got kind of caught up with this, and the fact is we've had other companies contact us all along, and we never even questioned it. But the fact of the matter is there are wicked people out there that are always out to try and deceive you, and so we were very gullible all along and very fortunate with all the companies that we had been working with thus far, and so now something new came up. What happened is the company stated that they were going to go ahead and send me the software, that I would install the software, the new version, for testing, and once installed there would be a PDF file contained within with the contract, the terms of the contract, and we would then sign the contract and return it back to them. This threw up a really big red flag for me. Being in the IT world, it's like, why would you need to install something to get access to the contract? So I started looking into it, And then things started coming out that I should have realized in the first place. I never really paid attention to the email address of where it came from. Many of you YouTubers or non-YouTubers have probably gotten emails that might go into your junk email that says things like it's from the FBI, and that's what the name is on the address or the sender's name when you receive it. But when you take a look at the actual person's email address, it's not a .gov address, it's something Gmail or some other bizarre email address, and it's like something's wrong. I should have looked at that, and I don't know why, but I never did. Again, I got caught up in the idea of being able to collaborate with a very big company. Yeah, I guess it was partly about the money and the idea of getting some new software, but the idea was also, hey, our channel is getting bigger, so much so that we're being recognized by other big name companies. So I admit I was dumb on this, but then I started looking a little deeper. Now, when you look at the email address, we'll go ahead and kind of show you some screen captures of some of the ones that we have received. You're going to notice that some of these email addresses are coming from Hotmail addresses, Gmail addresses, some addresses I've never even heard of before. And then when I started digging up into, hey, what's this company? There are other email companies such as Hotmail and Gmail that offer their free version of email. And so these people that are sending this are using their addresses. Digging a little deeper, you can actually find out people that might send something from Japan, their addresses end with a .jp. There's two-letter codes that identify countries throughout the world. I did not pick up on this in the beginning, and I started looking at it, and this particular company that sent me this information was from an obscure country in Europe, and it's like something's not right here. So unfortunately, I had to do a little more digging. I went to the actual company's official website, not where they directed me to, but I searched it myself. Looking in their support pages, oftentimes companies will have contact us, send us an email, and they'll have an email address to send it to. Well, if their email address ends with companyname.com, for example, that's more realistic than person's name.gmail. It's like anybody who's represent that large of a company has no reason to be using Gmail or anything else. So that too, again, threw up a red flag, and I had a couple options from here. I decided to go back and respond to the person one more time and say, hey, can you send me the contract on the PDF file and not the executable? We'll take a look at it, go over the contract and decide, if we agree to the terms, we'll sign it and send it back, and then we can work on installing the software. After doing that, these people disappeared completely. They had been very quick to respond all this time, but I did go back to some of the emails and I looked at it and I noticed that some of the email was very well written, but then when they ever answered questions that I submitted, it was written as if it was done by somebody else and their English wasn't perfect. Hey, my English isn't perfect either, so I can't say that it's always the best, but it was different from the rest. So it seemed to me that maybe there was some sort of form letter, and they were using that, and they got common responses from people other than myself, and they were just having to answer questions. They'd have to put their own language or their own use of the language into it, and then it was a little bit off. All right, so what I did realize is there's something definitely wrong. They stopped answering, so I went back to the official website and I reached out to them and I explained the situation and I asked, do you guys have any records of showing that you were looking to collaborate with our channel, Poor Man's DIY? They looked and said, I'm sorry, unfortunately there is no such thing, and they asked for details on the situation. I provided what was going on and they said, please give us details. They wanted the emails that were sent, some of the discussions that might have been done outside of email through our channel or other social media that we use, and they wanted us to provide screen captures, and they said they're going to have their legal department go after these particular people. So we learned our lesson. Thank goodness we didn't get caught up in it. We were really close. I think at one point I might have provided my address, which that was kind of dumb, but I can't go back on anything on that. I've since been keeping a track to make sure that no one's trying to build any new credit cards or anything like that, but it seems that we're safe. It's now been at least 6 months and haven't seen anything from that. So now we have suddenly started receiving more and more and more of these types of requests for collaboration. After this incident with the editing software company, we did a little research and looked online, and sure enough, we found a few YouTubers have posted videos explaining that they were scammed. Now, the end result is what they said was that by installing that executable file onto their computer, somehow or another, the scammers were able to gain access to their computer and also to their YouTube channel itself. And when they gained access to the YouTube channel, they changed all the passwords and they took over the channel. The YouTubers attempted contacting YouTube, and if any of you know, oftentimes there's not a person you can reach out to directly. You can send out questionnaires or assistance requests, and you may not get a direct answer from YouTube. You may get a response from the communities, but those people from those responses generally aren't able to help you get access back to your channel. I wasn't able to find out exactly how they posted this video, if they created another channel temporarily or not, but there were several people that lost all that hard work that they've done, and hopefully they've gained that access back. They have said their channel now has some of their videos, but people are posting different videos on top of there that weren't that they have nothing to do with and weren't part of their original channel. So I don't know how that's going to benefit the scammers, but obviously it actually destroys the YouTubers, and we feel terrible. We want to make sure that you don't run into something like that as well. So since this particular incident, we've actually received numerous collaboration offers, some from very big companies. We recently received one from H&M, although that was kind of confusing why H&M would want to collaborate with a DIY channel. But we've also received some legitimate ones from people that have products that also have nothing to do with DIY, yet they turned out after research to be valid. They sent us the products, and we're actually going to have a video either actually before this one. You may have already seen it, or it will be coming soon after this video here. We're not real sure on the sequence of that, but I digress. Anyhow, things that we want you to go ahead and look out for. Don't look at just in your email box that says, hey, this email is coming from H&M or the FBI or anything else like that. That's just a title. So when you create an email address, for example, a Hotmail, they're going to ask you what your name is, and whatever name you say it is, when you send it, people receive it, they're going to see it as, hey, this is from Poor Man's DIY. But I could have named it Booger, and they would say, hey, this email is coming from Booger. So it's just a name that's coming through on there. What's important is that you actually look at the email address itself. If you're not familiar how to do that, hit reply to it message. Don't actually reply, but hit reply, and what will open up in your email is that person's email address will appear in the to box. And in the to box, it may no longer say Poor Man's DIY. It should say Poor Man's DIY at hotmail.com. But now you can actually look at the real address of where you're sending a reply to, and you will be able to identify if in fact it really is from H&M or not. Now, that alone is not proof that this is a scam or not. So what we have to do is we take our due diligence and we do a little more research. So we suggest you do the same. One of the first things that you want to do is go to the official website. Don't look at the emails alone. These people will send you an email and say, hey, we're from H&M, the clothing store. And they'll say, you can check us out at hm.com and provide a link. And you go to that link and say, hey, yeah, this really is H&M. That means nothing. I can send you an email with a link to hm.com or the FBI's website, and you open it up and, wow, this is really legitimate. The fact is, they're just providing a link on their email. That doesn't mean they're truly from that company. So beware of that one there. Second thing is, I recommend you go into that website and look for their contact us or their support page. What they'll oftentimes will do is they will have, hey, if you have any questions regarding support for this particular product, send it to blank 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 at H&M.com. All right, if it says it's H&M.com, that means they have their own email address for their employees. So anybody that's contacting you should have an at H&M.com. Remember, this is just an example. But if they have an address of .gmail or at gmail.com, then you have to start wondering, why is someone from this company sending us an email from a Gmail account and not from the company account? However, this does not mean it's a complete fraud if it does come from a Gmail. All right, I know this gets a little bit confusing, but we actually had a collaboration request from somebody who sent a Gmail address to us. That was a red flag. The rest of it seemed pretty legitimate, and so we started asking questions. I contacted the person. I said, with all due respect, would you mind explaining why you're sending an email from Gmail as opposed to your company account? The person explained. They came back with a really legitimate question, response that I was very, very comfortable with. I'm not going to go into the full details because I don't want to give scammers an idea of how they can respond back to such a thing. But anyhow, it seemed legit. From that point, if I wanted to, I could have gone to the company and reached out to them and say, hey, we've been contacted by Jane Doe using this particular account, and she's asked to collaborate with us. Would you mind verifying this so that we make sure it's a legitimate offer? That's probably the safest bet for you to do. But again, like I said, after discussing with this person, everything seemed completely legit. I was very comfortable with it, provided information. They did send us the products, and we did do a review. So much so that they liked the review, they sent another product to us too. So just because it doesn't match the actual company name, doesn't mean that they're a fraud. But you have to be careful. One thing that you really, really want to think about is, do you really want to take the chance? If you spend months or years, there's a lot of work creating content that people don't realize that all's involved with not only making products and then making videos and all the hours and hours of editing you have to do. So if you've been doing this for a really long time, is it really worth getting a sponsor for X amount of dollars and taking the risk that you may lose your channel to some scammers? So if your channel is worth more, or even if you're a non-YouTuber and you just want to, you got an email that has an offer for something, why take the chance? Don't ruin things if it's just not worth it. Best thing is, again, contact the company. Now there is one more thing to look out for. You will see some companies, some email addresses from people, let's say they're representing Walmart, all right? And they said, hey, we're from Walmart, we want to collaborate with you, and their return email address is johndoe@walmart, MORT.com, as opposed to MART.com. This is something that looks totally legitimate, but you have to be careful. If a company name on that return address is slightly wrong, be aware. I came across someone who was very, very, very clever. One of the ones that it had was supports.walmart.com, okay? And if you go to the Walmart webpage, for example, it may say support.walmart.com. And so they misspelled support by one letter, and had you not looked really careful and verified it, you would actually be replying to a scammer as opposed to Walmart. They get very clever. Also, not just look for misspellings. Sometimes they will add a word in front of it. Let's say we'll go back to H&M again. Their return address may be at support.hm.com. But if you go to the H&M website, their support page says, yeah, send any questions to support@hm.com. There is no at support.hm.com. So they add a word onto the address, making it look legitimate. You need to verify if this is really true or not. Again, the best way to do this is reach out to the company. Here's the problem. Sometimes these companies don't respond at all. Sometimes they take a real long time to respond. But then it's a matter of, if this person is rushing you and you don't feel comfortable with it, I recommend skipping it. If they really like your channel, you can always reach out to them after you receive a response from the company. And if the company says, yeah, they've been trying to contact you for weeks, but we've now decided to go elsewhere, I'm sorry, but it's still better safe than sorry. Okay, so in conclusion, some of the things that you should do. One, make sure you look at the email addresses very closely. Two, if you're not sure about any of this, go to the company's website. Don't go to or call a phone number that is provided on the email itself and call them or some other address. If they say they represent Walmart or H&M or any other company, you look it up in Google, find out that company's official site, go to that company's site and try and reach out to somebody there and see if it's legitimate. If they really want to work with you, they will understand, okay? If it's something that they just had to find somebody really quickly and you lose out on it, again, I think it's safer to not risk losing everything you've worked so hard to build. And if they don't respond, move on. Another company will reach out to you eventually if you're producing content that they enjoy. Next, if they provide you with a URL to go to, do not click on it. Going to URLs alone may not cause any problems, but it could. Now, what I do is, if I get something like this that has a URL that they want me to click on, I copy and paste that and I go to Norton's website because I have a subscription with Norton. I believe their site is free for this particular thing, but you can actually ask Norton to take a look at a URL and see if it's safe to use or not. So oftentimes I will plug that URL into Norton, their website, and see if it's safe. They may say it's safe, all right, and then you can actually go to the site. Once you're at the site though, you still have to be careful. The scammers want you to come to this site, which may be a legitimate place where they store files that they want people to download and install. So now you have to be careful. Once you get to the site, if it says, oh yeah, click this or do that or download install that, or just click this icon, do not do it. That's where things start getting a little hairy. So their email may be legit, the URL that they provide you may be legit, but once they get to your site, that's when some of the hairy things that could occur. So be safe and make sure you don't just randomly click on URLs. Next, do not install executable files. What's an executable file? Anytime you install a program, you'll have a program with a file name that ends with .exe. This is an instruction to install a program into your computer. If anybody sends you an email, whether it's this company that you're working with, until you verify that that company is legit and you are working with the real company, do not install an executable file. And if you have software, antivirus software, scan that executable before you install it. Even if it's online, especially, do not double click it because it's going to try to install from there. Download it first, scan it with your antivirus before installing it. So I realize this wasn't a video that is normal to us, but because we have come across more and more of these on a regular basis now, and we've done some research after each one of these scams that we receive. We've now started looking up on the internet. For example, the H&M company one that we got just a week or so ago, looked it up on the internet, and there are several people that have received the same thing. There are some people that made videos about a Canon camera scam that they received. So people are actually getting scammed. People who are very experienced YouTubers have been scammed, so we want to make sure that you look out for these things. Fortunately, I have a little background in the IT side. Even still, I came this close to getting scammed myself. Actually, I guess I could say I was scammed because I gave up my personal address, which I've never done before, to a scammer, so I'm kind of bummed about that. But I fell for it. You could fall for it too, so be careful. So that's all we have for today. We are still jumbling all these different videos that we have finished. We'll have to figure out what sequence we're going to post them. So I think the next time at least, Jennifer will be with me, I hope. I'm tired of doing this all by myself. So until we meet again, bye-bye.